What's going on, my friends? Brezzy43 here. I have some updates. First of all, got my hair cut, shaved my face. Super excited about all that. Definitely feels a lot better to just cut it all off. So feeling good there. But I have had a couple of days off from uploading here. I've been doing a lot of testing of this team for the Players Cup, but I haven't been playing at normal times. So, unfortunately, not much of it is actually recorded. But for those of you that do know me, you know that I have a very crazy sleep schedule. So, being able to, with my working my night shift and trying to fit in time for everything, the time to play Pokemon has been very squeezed in where possible. So, so we are on the last 24 hours here before the Players Cup. So again, for those of you that don't know, Players Cup is this online qualifier event that you can play in as anyone who you want. It's free to enter. You just need to own the Pokemon you're going to use in your actual game, so you can't use a rental code. And it's a best of one format. How it works is starting tomorrow afternoon sometime. I don't exactly know the specific time off the top of my head. Players will be permitted 45 matches total over a 3-day period, unlocking 15 matches every 24 hours. So what that means is, starting tomorrow evening, if you enter this tournament, you will be allowed to play 15 matches tomorrow evening, and then you will not be able to play any more of your 45 matches until Friday evening. You unlock the next 15, and so on and so forth. Now, you don't have to play all 45 of your matches if you don't want to. How it works is you basically fight for elo. So you start off with a rating of 1500. Every win that you acquire in this best of ones format gives you about like 20 to 20 something points of an increase, and every loss decreases you by a similar amount. You have to, every time you finish, you'll get a rating of 1500 plus or minus wherever you've been at consistently from there. It's accumulative. So if you won 3 and lost 1, maybe you're at 1550 now. It'll give you a rating of where you place among other players in the world. And your whole objective here is to try to get to top 256 in your region, which can be a little bit difficult to discern because the rating they give you is based on your position in the world. So, for example, last Players Cup, I ended up missing out because of I didn't register my account correctly, which was really unfortunate. But here I've done it correctly now. My rating last time was 1663, and I ended up placing 212 in the world, which to me made me sure that I made it into, or maybe it wasn't quite that high, maybe it was 312, but wherever, I don't think I was in top 256 in the world, but I was in like top 400, top 350, that it made me feel comfortable enough to not have to play any more of my matches, because the likelihood of all players ahead of me in the top 300 being from North America to push me out would have been very unlikely. So I stopped playing there. That's just an example. But we are on the cusp here, and there's some things that I've been changing and tweaking and testing with this team. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. This is where I left you all last week sometime, was with this squad of 6 here. Weakness Policy Moltres Galar, Focus Sash Raichu, very supportive Raichu, Incineroar with Shuckleberry, Tapu Fini with Citrus Berry, Bronzong with Leftovers, and Mudsdale with Assault Vest. So I think overall, we had some really solid things going for this team. There was some really, really powerful things that it could do. Moltres partnered with Double Fake Out was really good, especially with such a supportive Raichu and Intimidate. This was really, really good. Cannot stress it enough. I've loved this mode of the team. A Moltres Raichu Incineroar Tapu Fini, or Moltres Raichu Incineroar Bronzong. It's been a very, very solid solid core. Basically, with this first mode, Moltres, Raichu, Finny, Bronzong, or Finny, Incineroar, you're just looking to try to set up with Moltres if you can. If you're forced into a position early to Dynamax, then you Dynamax early, which depends on the matchup you're playing against. Usually for me, I've been playing long enough to recognize a hyper offensive start from my opponent, which usually forces Moltres into an offensive position early, which is fine because you still have Fake Out, you still have Charm and Eerie Impulse, and you can always Volt Switch your own Moltres for the Weakness Policy activation should you need to. So that this core has been really solid. The whole point is to try to position your Moltres as best as you can using Fake Outs from Raichu and Incineroar, and damage mitigation from the both of them to get as much damage off as possible, and then set up Bronzong or Finny in the late game to finish up the match. Okay, so this mode has been very, very good. The second mode of the team, which is one that I didn't use as often, only when they had a very glaring weakness to Tapu Fini, was Raichu, Finny, Incineroar, Bronzong. This core was basically to showcase the strength of offensively that Finny can produce, even on its own, but especially after a Calm Mind boost. This offensive set, it's not, I shouldn't say offensive because it's actually not as offensive as a lot of other people run it. It's actually a pretty defensive set, at least with this EV spread, but this 196 plus I feel like is a little bit more special attack than a lot of other people are running. A lot of people are running more speed. So we've got the best of both worlds with bulk and offense rather than speed and offense or speed and bulk. I like this set. I think it's good. But this mode to me felt a little bit underwhelming because even though Tapu Fini does exert some offense with the Calm Mind boost, there's a lot of things in the metagame right now that are kind of checking special attackers a little bit, and base 95 special attack is really lackluster when you're only talking about a +1 special attack boost, whereas Moltres can obtain a +2 special attack boost with Nasty Plot. So this mode was only when the opponent's team was very weak to Tapu Fini. Bronzong has been either the best member on the team or the worst member on the team. No in between. This set here, I ended up making a change for this. And I'll get to that in a minute. But this Body Press Iron Defense set with access to Trick Room was really, really cool, and definitely something I'm going to revisit in the future because I really like it. But I don't think this team best optimizes it. This team does function in Trick Room and could be okay with getting Trick Room up. In fact, some of the times it will want it. However, Mudsdale and the way that I kind of positioned this team, these two don't really work in this given team. Mudsdale falls into a similar thing where I think the Pokemon itself is a very good Pokemon. I think it's worth exploring. Base 125 attack Pokemon that can't be flinched or can't be intimidated with Inner Focus is a big deal. Something that I think a lot of people underestimate, just how valuable that Inner Focus is. Because one of the ways that you're beating the Pokemon Glastrier, which is competing a lot in this Pokemon's, this Pokemon is, our Glastrier is the main competition as Trick Room Sweeper right now, is that you cycle Intimidates with things like Incineroar. But with Mudsdale, you don't have to do that. You can just get your boosts off with completely Intimidate free. You only have to worry about Parting Shot from Incineroar. So this Pokemon itself is very good. The last mode on the team that I brought most often was Incineroar, Bronzong, Finny, Mudsdale. And this was supposed to be the best mode to enable Mudsdale, which it was. However, if you look at those four Pokemon, they are very weak to a lot of things. One, this whole team is weak to Tapu Fini. Opposing Tapu Fini, especially offensive variants with choice specs, can just slice their way through this team. They can ignore Moltres because Fini can resist it relatively well overall, especially if they have ways to drop Moltres' special attack. Tapu Fini deals with Incineroar, deals with Mudsdale, deals with Bronzong, and Raichu's not offensive. Raichu's not offensive enough as a Pokemon in general, especially with its only attacking move being Volt Switch, to be to deal with Tapu Fini. And Mudsdale, it's a little bit of a chaotic neutral. Is like how I like to refer to it, where even though Mudsdale with Assault is not getting one shot by Tapu Fini, they kind of just like smack each other, and whoever is got speed control up first wins that matchup. But that's only one Pokemon, and Pokemon battles in VGC are dynamic. You have to count for both active Pokemon on the field, and so even though Mudsdale versus Tapu Fini comes down to whoever's attacking first, there's an ally Pokemon to the enemy Tapu Fini that can also attack Mudsdale. So I definitely want to revisit those, but this other core here of Moltres, Raichu, Fini, and Incineroar to me felt more consistent. I have a very good record with this team overall on the ranked ladder in game. The best of one ladder on the Switch. I think I am 13 and 5, 13 and 6, I believe. Somewhere around that time, somewhere around that margin. I think I've played, maybe it's 20 games. Maybe I'm 14 and 6 or 15 and 5. I think that might be more correct. But the mode that felt the strongest to me was the one that enabled Moltres. So if we're gonna look to move forward with the team, we're gonna start with the mode that worked well for me. So I've moved the leftovers onto Tapu Fini, and I might revisit this item slot on Incineroar. The reason why we were running Shukaberry previously was because we wanted to we had a very glaring ground weakness on our team, and Shukaberry allowed us to shore that up a little bit. So moving forward with the team here, what are we missing? What do we want on a team like this? Well, there's another Pokemon that I actually considered running instead of Moltres recently, and that's Celesteela. So for those of you that don't know, or that aren't familiar with this Pokemon, I don't think it can be run on the same team as Moltres because it often wants to be the partner of Raichu, but this thing is a beast. So it's a steel flying type, which means it only has 2 weaknesses, fire and electric, which Raichu would remove one of them. Very high stats overall, very comparable to Moltres with the exception of Moltres having a better speed stat but a lesser defense stat and a higher special defense stat, obviously. Very comparable Pokemon overall. But in my opinion, if we take a look at this on... Oh, I have it open already. Let's take a look at this quick. Moltres Pokedex. So you have 3 resistances and 2 immunities, which is pretty solid, right? Grass, Ghost, Dark, Psychic, and Ground as your resistances, which is good. You get a lot more. You only have 2 weaknesses, like we talked about. You lose out on your Dark and Ghost resistances that you get from Moltres, but you get a plethora of other resistances. And you still get a second immunity with still getting a Psychic Resist rather than a Psychic Immunity. You get an immunity to poison. And this Pokemon has very comparable base stats. Like I said, 580 for Moltres, 570 for Celesteela. But Celesteela's are... obviously the speed is a little bit lacking, but you can make up for that a little bit. So there's 2 different sets that you can run Celesteela with. You can run Celesteela as a Life Orb or Weakness Policy set, or you can run Power Herb, because Celesteela is one of the few Pokemon that gets Meteor Beam. So Meteor Beam is a 2-turn move. The first turn it charges up and increases your special attack by 1 stage, and then attacks on the second turn. However, if you run Power Herb, it's a single time use item that allows you to complete a 2-turn move in 1 turn. So you can effectively get a Meteor Beam off in the same turn, which is kind of nice. Definitely kind of nice. So this is one option for the team moving forward. I could swap the Celesteela in for the Moltres, and go from there. But if I'm keeping these four the same, this team really needs a grass type, in my opinion. Something that can round out this Firewater Grass core that helps us deal with Tapu Fini, because this core itself is not going to deal with Tapu Fini. Celesteela is a bit better against Fini because Steel, one of its stab at least hit it neutrally, which Moltres does as well. Excuse me. But we need a grass type on the team. The other thing I wanted to say about Celesteela real quick is Celesteela's ability is a little bit differently better than Moltres. So the whole point of this Moltres spread is to outspeed enough, hopefully get a nasty plot off, and punish the opponent for ignoring Moltres. If they ignore Moltres, worried about the weakness policy, you get a nasty plot up, you're at +2 anyway, you Dynamax and you start sweeping. If they don't ignore your Moltres and they start attacking it, the Berserk activates, the weakness policy might activate, you get to +3 very quickly between those two. However, Celesteela has an ability called Beast Boost. So this Pokemon's highest stat is raised by 1 if it attacks and KOs another Pokemon. So if you were to run something like this is a hypothetical stat. I don't actually know what I would run. If we're going to go with Life Orb, you could optimize for Life Orb chip, whether it's 179 or 189, and you could do something like this. I don't know what speed I'd be shooting for. I'd have to do some more calcs, but this spread basically is Celesteela's a bit more offensive up front than Moltres is, because this set is going to let you, if you pick up a knockout with Celesteela, you get a +1. If you go with a Meteor Beam set, you actually get the +1 right away. Power Herb. You actually get the +1 right away with Meteor Beam. You fake out something and then you Meteor Beam something else, and then you Dynamax the second turn already at +1, which is a pretty nice thing. Something that Moltres can't do. But in my opinion, Moltres is a little bit scarier in certain situations. There's some really strong fire types right now that could keep Celesteela in check. Yeah, but the more I've been seeing this thing, just with how bulky it is and being a steel flying type, the more impressed I've been with it. So this is a direction I could take the team. But grass types. We need grass types for this team to thrive, or a more offensive electric type than Raichu. In my opinion, I like Raichu. I think Raichu fits the team well. It's the double fake out stuff we were talking about. The reason why I took Charm off of this is because I really haven't been clicking it very much. I've just been cycling Incineroar. So from here, I could look to do a couple of different things. I could go back to Electroweb. I could go to Nuzzle. I haven't decided yet, or I could stick with Charm. I haven't decided yet. I wanted to talk through a couple other members of the team here. So one thing I've been seeing a lot of recently, that a lot of people have been doing on their teams, that is really interesting to me, in my opinion, is double terrain. We've been seeing a lot of Rillaboom plus Tapu Fini, which you might be saying, okay, well, double terrain is a little bit counterintuitive. You might end up with some anti-synergy, and yes, that is true in certain situations. However, Tapu Fini's ability, Misty Surge, setting up Misty Terrain, is more of a bonus, and more for defensive purposes. It prevents you from getting burned, from getting paralyzed. It basically prevents the hacks from happening to you that you don't want to have happen. So Rillaboom's terrain is a little bit interesting because it is a defensive terrain as well. It weakens certain ground moves, and it also gives you HP recovery at the end of every turn. However, Rillaboom gets access to a move called Grassy Glide. Grassy Glide turns into a +1 priority move on grassy terrain, which means that it's a 70 power move that gets stab boosted and terrain boosted, which makes it a very, very powerful move. And Rillaboom can be tailored to do a couple of different things. It can be offensive. We've seen Choice Band. If we pull it up in Peakalytics, I'll show you. A lot of people are running a Choice Band, which I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest. But Choice Band is actually the most popular set by a lot. Assault Vest being the next most popular, and then Miracle Seed and Rose Incense do the same thing, and they are both they're both about 24% of the metagame. But this Pokemon is usually pretty offensive, regardless of what set it is, with the exception of the Assault Vest one. But the Grassy Glide, Wood Hammer, U-Turn, Fake Out, High Horsepower, Knockoff. This Pokemon gets some really, really solid moves overall. And it's a really nice defensive pivot for teams with Assault Vest, but it's also a really important offensive piece for teams as well. So if we go back to our team here, we could run. This gives us a third Fake Out option potentially. It gives us ground coverage potentially, and the last move could be another Grass move. It could be Protect. It could be Knockoff. It could be a couple different things depending on what we want to do. I have a really good Assault Vest variation that I like to run. I like to run heavy HP investment. I have to think about the math for a second. So 1/16, 160, 176, 192, 208. No. Yeah, 208. So if we were going to optimize, it would be 192. I think that's right. 116. Oh yeah, yep. 132. The second most popular set did that. The second most popular set did optimize for the grassy terrain recovery. So this is, but if I was going to go with a Assault Vest variation, I would probably up this to around here. And then I would hit this to, I think, 100. This I think I actually might have had this at 110. That looks right. This was a set that I used on my Colossal team, and I liked it a lot. This set gave us it was very bulky. You lived so many things with this set. Assault Vest gives you a 1.5 times boost to your special defense stat, so it's important to have your special defense stat end in even, or be an even number in general. So 110 divided by 2 is 55, so this is effectively a 165 SPDF stat with 121 defense with Intimidate, really high HP, and then because of the Grassy Surge, Grassy Glide thing that we talked about, you don't have to invest super heavily in this Pokemon's offensive capabilities for it to function as both a defensive pivot and an offensive piece as well. The other set that I really like is the Rose Incense or Miracle Seed set. This set is a little bit different because it obviously is a bit more of an offensive set. You would run something more so along the lines of, I think I was doing, let's see. I think it was this. This doesn't seem right. Excuse me. Maybe it was actually. Excuse me, y'all. Sorry. Maybe it was this. And then I was running Double Grass. I don't know if I was running Fake Out, but Double Grass is pretty strong. And then U-Turn's pretty good. This Pokemon is honestly, it can be tailored to do whatever you want. So this is a really cool Pokemon that I might consider. But what I was talking about with the double terrain potentially being a anti-synergy is that Tapu Fini doesn't really need her terrain up. Rillaboom does for it to be most aptly used. So as long as if you get your Fini into position, as long as you don't plan on switching your Fini out too much more, you can bring Rillaboom in next to Fini and set up grassy terrain. Fini would love the double recovery, and then Rillaboom could also still function well in its grassy terrain. It can still pivot in and out as long as that Tapu Fini slot. The only time you're switching Fini is when Rillaboom is still alive, and then Fini comes back up before Rillaboom. So you as the player have to manipulate this a little bit. You have to be mindful of which terrain you're setting up. Obviously, Tapu Fini's has some like importance against dragons and things like that. But Rillabooms is the big reason why you would run it. So that's one option. Another thing I've been seeing a lot of on teams is this double Intimidate core of Incineroar plus Landorus. Incineroar would get changed to Citrus Berry, and then Landorus. Previously, I had this really good Choice Scarf set that I really liked. This was Adamant base 252 speed because 143 speed with Choice Scarf outspeeds Dragapult by 1, which is the fastest thing in the metagame and really the only thing that you care about. Outspeeding, because Regieleki can't really touch this thing. But the spread that I was using hit this second bump on Landorus's, or third bump actually. Landorus has one at Landorus has one at 36 and 116 and 196. That's right. So Landorus's third bump is here, and then you actually get a little bit of everything here. You get some. I think like this is what we were running. I really liked this spread. This spread was really good for Choice Scarf because it allows you to outspeed Dragapult. It allows you were running things like U-Turn, Superpower, Earthquake, and Rock Slide. And this was a really good Choice Scarf set in my opinion. However, the more popular set has actually become Assault Vest. Assault Vest, you still run U-Turn, Earthquake, and Rock Slide, but you no longer run Superpower, you run Fly. And this allows you to, I don't know how I feel about this yet. I'll have to decide if I'm going to be maxing Landorus a lot, because Fly is a good move, but it's only a good move if you're maxing Landorus. If you're not Dynamaxing Landorus, Fly is a little bit lackluster because it's a 2-turn move and your opponent can play around it really well. I can't tell you how many times against these physical flying Pokemon after Dynamax is over, how easy it is for me to play around Fly. Where they fly on turn 1, I predict it, I do something else, and then the second turn I protect the Pokemon that I think they're attacking, and then it's just routine. If you know what you're doing and you can accurately predict what your opponent's going to be targeting, Fly is a terrible move outside of Dynamax. So, but inside Dynamax, it's incredibly important. As we talked about, Max Airstream is super important. So if we were going to talk about a spread that I personally really like for this Pokemon, I'm going to show you the one that I found, or the one that I calced, actually. I started off with a lot of what people were doing, which it looked like 140 speed was a really popular speed stat. I don't really know why. I haven't been able to discern quite yet what this outspeeds. It might be speed creeping Tapu Finis or something. I don't know for sure. But if you actually hit, I think it's 236. I have to visualize this set. We had 36. I aimed for the first jump. The first bump here from 185 to 187 is where I stopped. This is enough offensive capability for what you want Landorus to do on your team. You don't need more than this, at least for this Assault Vest set, in my opinion. If you want a more offensive set, then you would most likely run something. You'd run more attack and you'd switch it up. This should be 236, I believe. And then we actually upped this to 28. And then this went up. This was the set that I found. And let me show you this. Let me show you why this set's good. There's a couple of things. Damage calc. So we're gonna be looking specifically at save. Okay. So if we pull up my custom set here for Landorus. Okay. Let's take a look at the primary ice type Pokemon in the metagame, starting off with Mr. Porygon 2. Okay, so this spread, this is with some investment in Porygon. I'll go through the 3 main Porygon sets. So this is one of them. This might be one of the most popular Porygon sets. I actually think it is. It's not the most popular, but it is this one right here. So this set's really interesting, but we actually have a 50% chance to live a +1. So that's assuming that the download boost for the Porygon gave them a special attack boost. We actually have a 50% chance of living Ice Beam, which is not terrible, not too bad. The second one that's important to note is is if we go to the next most popular spread, Quiet with 156. I'm just going to leave it modest and go 156. This one does guarantee Oko, so we have to be mindful of their Porygon. This one I couldn't personally invest enough EVs to warrant living this Ice Beam, because you lose out on too much speed. Sometimes you have to cut your losses. You can't EV for everything. So this is one set that I couldn't EV for. But if we remove this, if this is modest Porygon with no investment, or with 1 point of investment, which some people do, we have a 25% chance to live it. But if we look at the most popular Porygon set, Bold one, if we switch this to Bold and we drop this, we actually live with a pretty good amount of HP. We are guaranteed to survive +1 special attack Ice Beam from a Porygon, which is huge because this is 4 times effective. So that's one calc that's really important. We live the most popular spread. If you actually look at this one has 100 special attack and still Bold. If we switch this over, we have a 25% chance of living this one, which is pretty nice. We might be surprising a lot of people with this. Then the second one that I wanted to highlight is I actually found a way to mix it in with Mamo. So if you take a look, that's not right. Oh yeah, because it can't be intimidated. So if we change our ability, and we don't, a lot of people aren't running Life Orb, they're actually running Focus Sash instead of Life Orb. This was a custom set that I built for a friend of mine, but if you look, we are guaranteed to live Ice Shard from Mamo as well. Adamant Mamo max attack. So assuming that they get this off, and they don't have a Life Orb or something, we're gonna live this hit, which is a big deal. So a couple of things that I like about this Landorus set. But the other grass type that could fit on this team pretty well is Kartana. Now, Kartana, previously, if you look at its stats, it has one of the highest attack stats in the game, reasonable defense stat, very good defense stat, pretty good speed stat overall. This is above average for sure. It doesn't outspeed everything in the format, but it does outspeed a lot of things. If we normally, what people have done in the past is this was a Focus Sash Pokemon, or it was a Gracium Z. In Pokemon Sun and Moon, there was this thing called Z moves that would basically take the slot of your item and then would allow you a one-time use per battle, really strong grass move for Kartana. So, but with Dynamax coming into the equation here, Dynamax doubling your HP, people have actually found success with Assault Vest Kartana. Assault Vest really shores up this weakness. Now, there's certain things you can't shore up. I'll show you something that's kind of funny. If you were to go to a blank set on Kartana and you were to go 252, or I guess to be most optimal 244, 252, and you were to put a Careful Nature, which is special defense boosted, and you were to give it an Assault Vest, and you were to put it up against Arcanine with just the move Flamethrower, it still Okos. It doesn't Oko Dynamax, but it still Okos. So it doesn't fix everything. However, you can actually get to be surprisingly bulky with this set. So we wouldn't, I personally like running, I like running 252 speed. I think, what did we drop it down to? Was it that? I want to do a calc real quick. Nihilego. 170. It hits 170. So the reason why this matters is if it's actually the only, if you look at the Pokemon in, oops, that was the wrong thing to open. If you look at the Pokemon in the metagame right now, and you go to the speed stat of Kartana, which is 109. Looking around at the other 109s that it outspeed, anything lower, right? You have to think about what can Kartana outspeed. Well, Ninetales Alola is not very common. Durant's not very common anymore. Heliolisk uncommon. Cobalion and Terrakion and Virizion see a little bit of play at 108. Not very common. Terrakion's the only one that really sees much use. Which we have other tools of beating. And Blacephalon, a little bit of use, yeah. Usually with Choice Scarf though, so it's not going to matter. The rest of these Pokemon don't see any play until you get to Nihilego. Nihilego at base 103. So you could, in theory, EV Kartana down to outspeed Nihilego. And then you could go with something like this. This spread is still optimizing for bulk and speed, which is good. You don't need to optimize for. You don't need to be super offensive with this set because your offense set is still super high. You're still going to be getting attack boosts with your Beast Boost. It doesn't really matter. But people usually run Leaf Blade, Smart Strike for Steel, Sacred Sword, and then if you're running the Assault Vest, you have to choose another attacking move. People usually run Aerial Ace as a physical flying move for max Airstream. Some people run Giga Impact as a normal move to drop speed. Those are two different things you can run. But that's Kartana. Kartana's a grass type I would consider running for this team. If I wanted to forego the Assault Vest, what are people running instead? I think I saw a Mago Berry set. Where are you, Kartana? There you are. Focus Ash, Life Orb, Choice Band, Lumberry, Expert Belt. I saw somebody using Mago Berry and it intrigued me. Okay, so it's just a Pinch Berry. Okay, interesting. I'd have to see what the set was. Yeah, so AV, Mago Berry, things like that would be fine. Pinch Berries. We still technically have a Life Orb available, so Life Orb could be okay. But if we're gonna go with a Life Orb set, then we're probably gonna be running something. We're probably going to be dropping this to 139. We're probably going to be upping this to 252, like this. And then we're probably optimized down to 212. But this would be something that, well, actually with Life Orb, you probably wouldn't want to invest too heavily in this. You'd probably do something like this, actually, if I'm being honest with you. Just because you're not trying to, live hits with this set with Life Orb. You're trying to just outspeed things. You'd probably run Sacred Sword, Smart Strike, Leaf Blade, and Protect, or you could forego the Sacred Sword and run Aerial Ace for speed control. I personally think Assault Vest is the way to go. So let's say we were to run this. Let's say we were to put Kartana or Rillaboom on this team. Let's say for type synergies and getting an additional typing, we ran Kartana. We go back to our other set that we had before, 44, 212, 244, and Aerial Ace, right? What are we weak to now? We've got a grass switch in. We deal with Tapu Fini. Let's take a look at the metagame. Incineroar, just Tapu Fini really, and Moltres. Incineroar could be a little bit annoying for this team. Tapu Fini is good against it though. Opposing Tapu Fini, we have Kartana. For the Glacier matchup, we have Kartana and we have Incineroar cycling in and out. Rillaboom, we have Moltres and we have Incineroar and we have Incineroar, Moltres right now. Kartana is still okay against Rillaboom, or Kartana's great. I don't know what I'm saying, sorry. I was thinking about Incineroar for a second there. Kartana's good against Rillaboom. Regieleki, we have Kartana and Raichu, who are pretty good against it, which is nice because Kartana, being a grass type, does resist electric, which is a nice thing. Urshifu, we have Moltres, we have Fake Out, we have different components like that. Porygon 2, Kartana helps out against with fighting fighting coverage. We have Fake Outs. Landorus T, Moltres is pretty good against. Tapu Fini's great against. Kartana's not bad against. If you can position it without the Intimidate, it's not as big of a deal. Having Kartana helps out against Grimmsnarl. Zapdos is a bit tricky because Zapdos actually matches up well into our whole team so far. Zapdos is a little bit of a problem because it's a bit chaotic into Moltres. I played against one last night that Dynamaxed on turn 1 with usually Zapdos carries Life Orb on 60% of sets actually. And my opponent Dynamaxed on turn 1 and attacked my Raichu with Max Airstream. I Dynamaxed on turn 1 predicting this and Max Airstreamed the Zapdos' partner after a fake out, picked up the KO, and then things got interesting from there because I switched my Raichu out and attacked his Zapdos. He protected, and then the last turn I switched Raichu back in, but I forgot what happened. Something happened that pinned my Raichu in such a way that Raichu got knocked out and then Zapdos could hit my Moltres. But after that, I had fake out pressure and Moonblasts and things like I got to call Mind Up with Tapu Fini, which helped me live a Thunderbolt outside of Max. So getting something to help the Zapdos could be good for sure. Amoonguss, we have Moltres, we have Incineroar. Kartana ignores this Pokemon completely. Dusclops, we have Taunt on Incineroar. So I think the main thing we want to look at is the last slot on the team could be a couple of different things. Venusaur. I didn't even think about Venusaur. Sorry. I was thinking Venusaur might be able to fit in the Kartana slot, and the last slot could be taken by Torkoal. It does give us double fire, but it gives us Venusaur, which is a really important piece. But doesn't really fix our our Zapdos weakness. I also think I misplayed a little bit against Zapdos last night because I should have Eerie Impulsed the Zapdos on turn 1. Instead of I went for Fake Out and Max Airstream, which was good, but then from there I should have Eerie Impulsed the Zapdos and then attacked the partner and then dropped the special attacks out of the Zapdos by 2. That would have been what I should have done, I think. So yeah, that was probably just my bad. Kartana though, I think I like Kartana. Or Rillaboom, depending on this last slot. I was thinking about Landorus. Like I said, people have been doing double Intimidate in this slot, and Landorus does fit, and Landorus is a pretty good option. It could, if we wanted to keep Kartana and run Assault Vest Kartana, we could run like a Lumberry Landorus and go for like a Swords Dance offensive set. What are people doing with Thundurus or with Landorus right now? AV is 53% of the metagame. Okay. Interesting. It's kind of tough for me to decide because this gives us a ground type, which is important. But it doesn't really give us much more than that. Because we already have flying typing. Landorus does have double immunity, which is really nice, same as Moltres. They're both immune to ground, and then Landorus is immune to electric, which is really good. Assault Vest Landorus would actually be pretty decent against Zapdos, but Assault Vest is occupied by Kartana at the moment. So the other grass type I thought about on this team is Amoonguss. There's a little bit of anti-synergy between Amoonguss and Tapu Fini, because if Misty Terrain's up, I can't put anything to sleep that touches the ground, which Spore is a big component of Amoonguss. But I've seen a lot of teams running both on their team anyway, so I really don't know what I would think about that. But this is interesting. Otherwise, from here, I actually like pulling up my teams inside Pikalytics, because Pikalytics has this really cool feature that actually allows you to view weaknesses a little bit better. So our item here, let's say it's Shuka, Intimidate. Our spread is our spread doesn't really matter. We need to care about our offensive moves. Flare Blitz, Parting Shot, Taunt, Fake Out. Next Pokemon, adding Tapu Fini. We have Muddy Water, Moonblast. These are the only moves that really matter because it's our only offensive moves. We could run Scald here instead for 100% accuracy. I haven't decided how I feel about that yet. Moltres, Galar. We have Fiery Wrath, Air Slash. Then we have Raichu. Raichu only has Fake Out and Volt Switch as its attacking moves. Let's get this out of here. Get this out of here. And then we have Kartana. So this will actually give you some suggestions for different moves you can, or different Pokemon you can run. But this will give you suggestions for different Pokemon. Like I said, Landorus is up there, or Shifu's a possibility. But let's take a look at our types. So we have this first column here tells you how many Pokemon you have weak to it. Weak to one of these types, and how many Pokemon you have that resist those types, and then types you're immune to, and then ways that you have of hitting these types for super effective damage, not stab, and then super effective damage with stab. So for example, like we have Sacred Sword on Kartana, which is why there's a 1 right here, because we hit normal super effectively, but it's not stab. Fighting, we have really good fighting coverage despite having 2 Pokemon weak to fighting. Okay, so looking at this, we have 2 ground weaknesses in Incineroar and Raichu, with 1 ground immunity. We have 2 electric weaknesses. I guess we should change this to Lightning Rod, huh? We have 2 electric weaknesses with 1 immunity and 1 resist. We only have 1 ice weakness with 2 resists, which are these 2. Landorus does kind of fit here, actually. There's been a streamer I've seen that's done some stuff recently with both both Landorus and Kartana, and then just like gave Kartana the Mago Berry or something else. I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. We have 3 steel weaknesses with no steel, or we have 3 steel resists with no steel weakness, which is great. We have 2 ghost resists, which is a big deal. What else could we run? We have fire, water, grass. We have steel, fairy. Is there a dragon we could run? Garchomp? Garchomp. Doesn't really fit, I don't think. Gives us a rock resist. Gives us a second fairy weakness. Gives us a dragon weakness. Gives us a 4 times ice weakness. I don't know if I like that. We don't have to run a dragon either. It's a little bit of anti-synergy with Tapu Fini. I don't really know what this team is missing. We aren't super weak to Trick Room with Taunt. We could in theory run another slow Pokemon, because we're gonna have Protect on 1, 2, probably 3 Pokemon. We have double Fake Out and Taunt for Trick Room, which is nice. I haven't really struggled that much against Trick Room, even if I don't bring the Bronzong mode of the current team that I've been running, because I have double Fake Out, I have got Parting Shot and Intimidate, I've got Protect on, like I can position my Moltres and just sit back and protect and stuff. What happens if we add Landorus? we pick up a second fighting resist. We pick up a second ground immunity. We pick up some other resistances here. We do add a water weakness and an ice weakness, but we add an electric immunity as well. So we have 2 electric immunities. Huh. I'll have to do some more thinking. I don't want to do this all on camera because it's I could sit here for a while and end up doing this. But I think moving forward, Kartana seems like a great addition to this team. And then the last Mon, I don't know yet. Could be Landorus, could be something else. Could be... I don't love Landorus necessarily with my team already having 2 ground weaknesses. Trying to go for earthquakes and stuff would be a little bit tricky. I'll have to do some thinking and see if there's something else that I want to run in that spot. But yeah, that was kind of the last minute process here of me going through this team and thinking about different things. The moral was, even though I really like these Pokemon that I chose to run here, I want to give myself a really good chance of doing well in this tournament, and I don't want bad Pokemon slowing me down. It's not fair to say that these Pokemon are bad. It's just that I think that they're a little bit underwhelming on this team. I think that I need to have more reps with these Pokemon, and I also think they might need to be on a different team for them to be most aptly used to their best capacity. So that's why I wanted to revisit changing things. You may end up seeing me with something completely different at the end here. I might end up substituting Celesteela from Ultra Scalar. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I've got some ideas jumbling around in my head. I got to talk to my team building people here and see what they recommend. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this video. Team building is tricky, but especially when it's for a tournament like this. But I really hope that that some of you decide to come out and play in this Players Cup because it's a really fun tournament. I had a blast last time, which was a few months ago. I played Sun with Venusaur Oracle, so this is kind of a different wheelhouse for me, but I like it. I may end up changing things up and playing something else. We'll have to see. But I really liked these 4 core, and I'm still thinking about these last 2. So that was kind of my mental process for last minute team building. In the abstract, of course, but yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit a like, hit subscribe, leave me a comment with any feedback you might have about this. Sorry if I rambled a little bit or was choppy. There's just a lot of last minute things. I do this all the time. I did this back when I played Magic as well. Right before a tournament, I always second guessed my deck decision. In this case, I'm second guessing my team decision, but I like this overall. I think this is a good core, especially these 4, and Kartana might fit in really nicely. Just a matter of discerning from here what I want to do moving forward. So yeah, I appreciate you all watching. Leave me a comment with some feedback if you want to, and I will see you all in the next video, hopefully with some Players Cup content. So have a good one, everyone.